Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and buckle up for Sim Racers Group Formula 3 racing on SMB. JR Gregory back with you on the call, along with my partner, Charles Boshell, and our producer, the one, the only, Mike Braun. And as the second ever season of SRG F3 rolls on, we travel from Australia to Austria and the Red Bull Ring, located in Spielberg in the Styrian Mountains of Austria, is the Red Bull Ring. Racing began in the area in 1969 at the old Österreich Ring, a longtime site of the Formula One Austrian Grand Prix, and the current facility opened in 2011 after several years of dormancy. Current host to Formula One, of course, and a lot of motorcycle racing. Today's config is 2.7 miles, 4.3 clicks, and 10 turns. Carlos Sainz has the record of 105.619 in a McLaren in 2020. And Charles, I love seeing these F3 cars tackle F1 circuits. They perform out here exceptionally well. So what are your keys to success here in Spielberg?
Yeah, JR, they do perform well here. First thing, don't tempt fate using the curbs. The curbs here will just absolutely ruin your day. It's just better to avoid them if at all possible. Track debris on corner exits is going to cause problems. That's primarily from turn 4 all the way around to turn 8. That little infield horseshoe section just tends to have a lot of debris built up and pulled out onto the track. And then finally, sneaky track limits and slowdowns. We were mentioning this a little bit before the broadcast. The track limits here will catch you out, so we may see some penalties here during the race tonight. I hope not. Hope we have a really good race, but it's just one of those things. And then that final corner, you carry a little too wide, and it's a slowdown up the straightaway, and it really just ruins your laps for the lap you're on and the lap you're about to run.
Yeah, Red Bull Ring, super interesting in that regard. And the interesting thing to me about it is it has these corners that are 100% commitment, and those corners are kind of like threading a needle. And I'm speaking in particular turn 1, both ends of the start-finish straight, frankly. Turn 10 leading onto that straight, turn 1 leading off of it. And something about the design of this track, on a typical corner, you're off a little bit, you overcook the entry a little bit, you miss your turn in a little bit. You can make some small corrections and still get through the corner okay. And I'm telling you, man, that turn 10 and that turn 1, you crank the wheel over, put the pedal on the floor, and hope that you did it right, because there's no way to correct. And that's where those off tracks really pile up. And we're going to ride along with Corwin right now. Here's one of the places I'm talking about. You got to turn in, punch it, just smooch that sausage curb on the left there on the exit, and then we'll make our way up to turn 3 is another example, of course, because this is a motorcycle track. This little kink right here counts as a corner. Yeah, whatever. But anyway, here is turn 3, hard braking. Look at that anti-cut curb on the inside and the outside, climbing that hill. Super tough to get the power down there. We're definitely going to see some spins right there, and we're also going to see some people burning their rear tires trying to get up that hill, and that's going to give their competitors a run down the hill into this tricky off-camber turn 4 here, I think it is. And we'll just continue along with Corwin here, show you the rest of the lap. This part is super exciting part of Red Bull Ring, this 6-7 combo. You can get surprised here if your competitor wants to try to run side by side through here. Totally doable, and I've seen a lot of overtakes over the years into that turn 6, inside and outside. And here is another one of those corners that takes high commitment, turn 9. You can't see the apex, you can't see the exit, and whoop, there goes Corwin. I don't know if he went into another dimension right there, but you can go fairly wide there, but pretty sure that was an off right there. And that's just another spot, Charles, where you have to be completely committed, and you can get bitten there from very, very small mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a very difficult corner. Really easy to get an off track there. And for whatever reason, turn 4 doesn't seem like much, but deceptively difficult to get that corner right. Turn 3, you're going to have problems getting the power down. Turn 4, same thing. It just doesn't look like that much, but I've seen so many cars go off there, or just lose the rear coming through that corner. So that'll be a section of the track we'll have to keep a really close eye on.
Yeah, absolutely demonic design in a lot of areas here at the Red Bull Ring. Off camber, blind corners. Doesn't look like much on paper, but really quite interesting to drive. But anyway, here comes our grid. Let's go through it. It's Christopher Eggert up front, lined up next to Stephen Case. Then it's Wang next to Jason Green in row 2. Then Praborji will line up next to Skylar Viceroy in 5 and 6. Then De Silva and Bali. Josh Wilkie will line up next to Alex Velasco. Jason Cotcher next to Josh Corwin in P12. And then it's going to be Lebivi next to Novice in 13 and 14, Conway next to Cardenas, Lopez next to Oladipo, Mikovits next to Duvall in 19 and 20, Grunsky next to Van Wagner. Little surprised to see him all the way down there in P22, and then Snyder next to David Borden in 23 and 24. And a big grid today is Hagan will line up next to Dylan, and then Jacob Guyton all the way in the back. And I have a feeling, Charles, that he just practiced and will not grid. So strike Guyton, last car will be Dylan in P26. And we're going to get this one underway any moment here. This is our 15-minute heat. 2 races on SMB here tonight. There you see Eggert join the field. He's going to have the outside run into that difficult turn 1. And I have seen some action here off the start. No traction control here. Cold tires. Is Case going to roll the dice and try to get that P1 away from Eggert? And we are underway. It is still Eggert from Case from Chris Wang. And there is Green sniffing around on the inside of Chris Wang. Gets it done. Green immediately moves up into P3. A cloud of smoke in the back. Body panels flying. And something has happened. Lap 1, turn 1 off the start. You hate it when one of these races starts this way. Damage is on. And we'll go back and take a look who's involved in that. But Little Bird is telling me it is Bali, Corwin, and Velasco have stuffed their cars there in turn 1, and we'll sort that out for you here in a moment. But the front of the field getting away pretty clean, and look at that gap that Chris Eggert has already created. Put 1 second on Stephen Case. Who does Eggert think he is? Stephen Case?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, first time that anybody other than Stephen Case has been at the front of the pack, and Eggert had a good run. Obviously, you get the 2 wide coming through 1, really gives the that lead car an opportunity to kind of check out. He's outside of the 1 second bubble, so Stephen Case has got his work cut out for him. He's going to have to do a little bit of work to gain back up. And we'll say we did have, you mentioned Velasco, Corwin, Lebivi as well, and Bali all down the order from the incident in turn 1.
Yeah, and it looks like I've got at least one meatball showing. And there
Viceroy
is a car going wide. That is Viceroy. It blew that 9-10 combination. Very high speed. Again, very high commitment, and very difficult on the track limits, and a car going off there kind of unexpectedly. It looks like Van Wagner has towed to the pits, and Oladipo as well, and it is carnage here in Austria. And let's go ahead and take a look. We'll ride along with Varun Bali here off the start, and he is there in that 45 car, and we'll see what happens there. Oh, that is wow, really terribly optimistic move there by whoever was driving that white car. Bounced over the anti-cut curb, and then a couple cars trying to push through him like driving snowplows. So that was an ugly start here, and frankly, we usually see a lot better out of this field. And there's another look at the back of the pack. More cars getting involved, and my goodness, a lot of spoilers are laying around there on the boundaries of turn 1, and a very, very messy start here for SRG F3.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on board here with Oladipo now. You can see everybody backed up, and there's just really nowhere to go, and he's getting just bumped here and there by cars as they're just trying to get around the blockage of the track. We've got Bally as well here already spun, and you just see that turn 1 is just absolutely it's horrendous at the start of the race. Very difficult to get a clean way through, and you see Eggert take off. Oh, almost lose it there. Good catch by him, but gets a really good exit out of the corner and is able to just kind of check out over Case and Green. And the gap is actually gaining a little bit. So he's up to 1.2.
And, Charles, a track like this, you kind of have to be ready for that, coming down that long straightaway into a very tight turn 1 in traffic. And go ahead and check it out on Wikipedia, kids. It's the concertina effect. and you have got to be ready for it and give yourself a little bit of extra space there. And I'm not quite sure who the guilty party was, but somebody took a wild dive down the inside there that started a lot of that. It was a white car with a face on the side of it. Not sure who it was, but very iffy decision there. But up front, it is Eggert from Case from Green, and fairly large intervals developing here already. And Jason Green has turned in the fast lap of this heat race so far, a 1:25.4. So Green lighting the wick here and has got about 7/10 gap up to Case. So could we see Case plummet all the way down to P3? And that is something that we haven't seen in a while here in F3.
Yeah, it really has been. It's been a long time. Case has been pretty dominant, but yeah, just see he's so far just set the fastest lap there with a 25.06, 0.3 faster than the car in front and the car behind. So great lap by him. He's back inside that 1 second gap, so he's going to start pulling a little bit of draft off the car in front. And Green's going to get the benefit of the both the cars as well, as we're on board now with Poborji with a fight there. That's Christopher Wang in front and cutting over and taking that position, P4 overall. And now he's got Poborji is going to be looking to try and get that back. He's going to move to the inside as Wang moves to the outside, and he's going to try and take it down here. It's a little difficult here on the inside line here in this corner in turn 4. You see he's run over the curbs there. Ooh. Did a good job, gets it around, but not enough to pick up the position over Wang. Wang's going to hang in there at P4.
Yeah, and that's an intimidation move there into turn 4. It's off camber, downhill, and you're still kind of under braking, trying to get the car to rotate there, and somebody stuffs it down the inside there. They're trying to scare you off the line, and Wang not falling for it that time, but Poborji certainly had a crack on it, and Poborji not done, still riding about a 0.2 interval ahead to Chris Wang as they come out of turn 10 onto that long pit straightaway. And you don't have to be a gambling man to know that Poborji is going to take another crack at Wang here. And meanwhile, up front, Eggert has broken into the 124, setting a 124.9, the fast lap of the race. It looked like Case was going to get something going there, but Eggert saw him coming and reopened that gap to 1.3. So Eggert showing his expertise here at Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, he's having a good run so far, able to extend that gap a bit. Set the fastest last lap by, and there we go, Poborji down the inside of turn 3. That is a strong move, and that is really one of the best passing corners on the track because it's a little difficult, but once you get it kind of mastered, it's makes for some good passing. You just late on the brakes, take the inside easy back on the throttle, and you should get them cleared as the outside car has to kind of worry about that anti-cut curb out there on the outside that will just absolutely basically you're basically riding that thing. You're not really trying to drive over it. It's basically going to grab the bottom of the car and you'll just end up sliding across.
Yeah, and so many places here at Red Bull Ring are kind of a combination of bullying and playing a little bit of chicken with some of these track limits on some of the high-speed stuff. And taking a look at Dylan here, and Dylan getting a little bit too much of that inside curb. And like I said, Charles, so many places here at Red Bull Ring, you are threading the needle. Very, very low room for error at high speed, and turn 1, certainly one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're back with Poborji running in P4, that gap is opened up. You have the top 3 cars out there by themselves, a 3.5 to 3.8 second gap to Poborji back in P4, and he still has Wang all over his rear spoiler, looking to get that position back. So we're now on board with Skylar Vickroy here, who's having himself had a little struggle. We saw him run wide in one of the corners, and now he's got a time to make up. I think he has come into the pits. He may have picked up some damage, but as you see that Borden running wide there through 1. Easy pickings there for Vickroy to move up to P18, but now he's got a little bit of a climb to get up to Hagen.
Yeah, we've had a couple demonstrations here. We've had a couple drivers demonstrate what happens if you get cut too much into the apex of turn one, and Borden there showing what happens if you let the car drift wide. There is a substantial sausage curb out there, and you get two wheels up on it. That F3 car will launch into a low geosynchronous orbit, and you are way, way off. And here is Dylan going wide there too. So Red Bull Ring not being kind to Dylan right now. He's sitting in about P24, which is actually 2 positions up from where he was by virtue of some other drivers bidding those F3 cars and taking tows. But just over halfway through right now, it is Eggert by a 1.5 seconds over Case, who has a 1.5 second gap to Green, who has a 4-second gap to Poborgi. And taking a look at Wilkie now. And what has Wilkie got going? Wilkie is going to try Cardenas on the inside of turn 1, but backs out of it there at the end. Very tough spot, Charles, to try a side-by-side. I think Wilkie was trying to play a little bit of chicken there with Cardenas. Cardenas did not bite that time.
Yeah, I was just kind of watching as he decided to back out of that, but then he just didn't. Could have used the draft down that straightaway and just didn't want to get behind Cardenas at all. Just kind of ran his own line down on the inside line coming down into turn 3. So could have taken advantage of a little bit of slipstream down through there, but chose not to. I think he's just biding his time and maybe learn a little bit from Cardenas on what line Cardenas likes, and gives him a little better opportunity to make a move in the next lap or two.
Wow, look at the movers there on our timing tower. Let's take a look at Lloyd Conway right now, who is on the screen and highlighted there on our SDK timing tower, up 7. Lopez behind him, up 8. Mikovits behind him, up 9. Grutzky up plus 10, and Snyder plus 11. So where some people are struggling and falling, there are some definitely people fighting their way to the front. And Conway looking good here. About 5 minutes remaining, and definitely has Cotcher within his sights. We know that Conway has some pace, and he would probably love to get one more position here to improve his lot for the feature race. Of course, this heat will set the grid order for the next race here, and Conway will try the outside of turn 2 there, almost, or turn 3 rather, almost gets it done there. Totally doable. And frankly, Charles, I think he's going to have a little bit of a better run down here in turn 4. So Conway may make this one stick after they work their way down right here. Oh, and Cotcher says no, slams the door in his face, and there's Mikovits sniffing around, and he is going to pounce. I thought he was going to get by Conway right there for sure. He still might, and he does. Mikovits slides through, so quite a fight going on there for P7.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are putting on a show, and you saw Cotcher get through and is trying to check out as these guys fight side by side, basically for the last half a lap or so. And you've got Lopez there on the inside, able to make that move around Conway, and finally picks up that position way wide coming in there. I think he's okay, but I'm just kind of watching our timing and scoring software, and the off tracks are starting to total up there a little bit.
Yeah, they are piling up. It is notoriously inaccurate, so there's no way this is right, but it kind of gives you the flavor. Snyder is showing 10 off track so far, as is Oladipo. Borden showing 14. So, 12 minutes, that's more than one incident per minute, and that sounds like Red Bull Ring to me. And what is going on here? That is Wilkie, and is that Novice all over Wilkie right there?
Nice move by Wilkie,
a little switch back there.
Yeah, switch
nice.
Back as Novice locked up coming down into 3. Wilkie was able to just cut the corner and pick that position back up.
Yeah, and Novice throwing me a little bit with that new livery, but looking sharp there in that F3 car. And here is another problem for Vicroy. We saw him go off earlier. He's trying to wow, trying to claw his way back up and regain some of those positions. And you saw that wheel-to-wheel contact there never works out well in these open wheel cars, and that sends him backwards into the wall at turn 3, and he has taken a tow. So Vicroy is going to finish this one in P24. So a lot of our fast runners having big struggles here early.
Yeah, and that was contact with Hagan, who's also got a meatball, and should be able to finish the race, assuming, of course, he doesn't wreck the car. He looked like he's struggling a little bit. I saw it come up with a slowdown, so he's obviously off tracked it again somewhere else. So obviously the damage is starting to hurt his lap time significantly. But I think we're on the white flag lap coming up this time by.
Yeah, it does look like we're on the penultimate lap right now, and either Eggert has had some bobbles, and looking at his times, I don't really see anything standing out. So looks like Case has kind of cranked up the pace a little bit, thrown in the fastest lap currently of 124.779, and has got Eggert down to about a half-second gap with 1 lap to go, and probably... gosh, I don't know, Charles, I don't know how hard I would try to get that P1 right now. I think just being in the front row probably is going to satisfy Case, especially the way this grid is set up. P2 is actually the inside run into turn 1. So Case might just kind of take it easy here and follow Eggert around. But then again, he is a race driver. And as I say that, look at him close down that gap, gets a great run out of turn 1. And will he challenge Eggert here down into turn 3? Eggert will cover the inside. Case is going to try that outside line up the hill around turn 3. It's completely doable here, and often the outside car gets a better drive up the hill, and you saw it right there. Case makes it happen. Case is not going to be denied and dispatches Eggert, who at points in this one had a 2-second gap, but Case somehow reels him in, gets it done with about a half lap remaining. Eggert looking at about a 0.25 gap ahead to Case.
Yeah, and it's going to be a battle. Eggert's going to do everything he can to get that spot back. He wants the race victory. He's led basically every lap. And he's going to want to try and get back around. But it's just so difficult on this back half of the circuit. Oh, as we see Case running wide there coming out of turn 8. So maybe there's an opportunity here for Eggert to make a move and maybe sneak one by him coming down up to the start-finish line.
Yeah, there is a possibility of making a little dive here into turn 10, but Eggert not close enough to make that happen, and Case goes to work and gets his work done and is going to take the checker. It's going to be Case from Eggert from green, and then barring anything wild, it's going to be Paborgi from Wang to round out your top 5, and as the rest of them come through. And again, the results here will be your starting grid, so we'll go through that in detail with you prior to the feature. But we've got some other material for you here during the 5-minute warm-up, which I hope the surfer was set up to do. We've got some championship points for you, both individual and season, which we're going to get to. But my goodness, wild stuff here at Red Bull Ring, Charles, and kind of what I was expecting in many ways. Something about the design of this track allows some side-by-side action and some very high-speed sections of the track, and really provides some exciting racing.
Yeah, it really is. It is exciting racing, and this track is really fun to drive. It's difficult to race, but it's fun to drive. It's just because it's just it feels more constricted than it is because of the all the accoutrement on the around the track, the sausage curbs on the inside and outside, the pit wall that runs around the inside of turn 1. It just makes for some. It just makes it feel a little more claustrophobic than other tracks. And the track is wide enough that can support side by side racing. But for whatever reason, it usually comes to blows before it's all said and done.
Wow, that was an interesting shot on the screen right there. That might have been the old Österreichring, which was a big loop that continued. It went straight where this track goes, has that hard uphill turn 1. And I think they just showed us a little bit of that. So really interesting stuff at this historic venue. But there are your Heat 1 results. I'll let you read through those yourself, because that is going to be our grid, which I'll run through with you prior to the race. But let's go ahead, Mike, if you got them, and jump to the individual season points so far. So we are 5 weeks in here. So with 4 races in the book, Stephen Case has won every one of those, and that is the result there, sitting fairly comfortably in P1 with 207 points. About 60, 70 some odd behind him is Jason Green in P2, but Poborji will round out the podium. Then Eggert, Corwin, Conway, and a pretty tight cluster up there. Bali as well, Cotcher, Lopez, Vicroy takes us down to P10. And so there is a cluster there kind of in the mid-pack where there's going to be some heated competition there for the bottom of the top 5, I'm going to say. Then it's De Silva, Wang, Navis, Lebivi, and Duvall takes us to P15. Van Wagner, Mikovits is in there, Josh Leslie, and there it went. But there are your individual points, and we'll go ahead and run now to the team points and see if my notes are correct on this. This is always a moment of suspense for me as I wait for the team standings. And it looks like I have it. All right, so L10 Racing Team is in P1. Stephen Case, as you might guess, on that team along with Van Wagner. Then Dad Tax Racing Team in P2. That's Corwin and Lopez. JGJS is Green and Snyder. The family D-Gens is Conway and Duvall, and Team Labubu there in P5 is Bali and Lebivi. And that's all my limited skills are able to keep up with, but I've at least given you the drivers there on the top 5 team, and there is the rest of that grid. So, Charles, these drivers are going to need a reset here. Start particularly was quite messy. The feature race here is 25 minutes, and telling you, man, you have got to expect potential problems there in turn 1. You've got to leave yourself some space in case the inevitable occurs there, and hopefully these drivers have that front of mind during this warm-up as they think about how the start of the feature race is going to go.
Yeah, I think hopefully the first race, the heat race, is a learning moment for the drivers out on the track, and they get a chance to say, okay, we're going to do this again. So let's not do what we did last time, and let's keep everything clean. Let's get through turn 1, then we can start racing as we get down the front down that long straightaway between 1 and 3. We can start doing it, but there's going to be some drivers in the back, Mikovits, Corwin, and who's the other one? Vicroy. Those 3 guys have had really, really good runs as of late, and so with the bad result here, they're going to want to try and make their way through the field as quickly as they can. So it's going to be everybody else trying to take it easy. Then you're going to have 2 or 3 that are probably going to push the issue because they need to get up in the order as quickly as possible with a 25-minute race coming. Not a lot of time to sit around and wait for cars to get themselves sorted out. So that's going to be the big conundrum for the second race as the grid is starting to line up.
Yeah, and right, with the likes of, as you said, Van Wagner, Vicroy, and some of our other fast drivers, Corwin, at the back of this grid. We're going to be keeping an eye on them. And it's really going to be an exercise in patience for them. They drive the wheels off the car to make up a bunch of positions off the start, and they could run out of tires here at the Red Bull Ring pretty easily before the feature is over. But there is your starting grid. Stephen Case showing how Stephen cases by putting himself into P1 on the starting lineup next to Eggert in P2. Then it's Green and Poborji in row 2, Chris Wang and Tyrone De Silva in 5 and 6, Adrian Lopez and Lloyd Conway behind them, and then Cotcher and Mikovits in row 5. Grinsky will line up next to Justin Snyder in 11 and 12. Then Josh Wilkie next to Cardenas, Navis next to Duvall, Oladipo next to David Borden, and Velasco will line up next to Bali. Didn't quite get through that, and we are green. Let's see what Case is able to do with a slightly disadvantageous outside line and gets through there easily. Case getting a very good start. Ooh, as you see a couple of our top runners flirting with that exit curve there on turn 1, but so far so good. Much better start this time. It's Case from Eggert from Green, from Poborji, from Wang, and looking up and down the timing tower, no changes in positions in the first 13 cars. So there might have been a public announcement at SRG to take it easy on the start from Cotcher, but we'll talk to him about that maybe after the race. Looks like Lopez and De Silva fighting it out a little bit, might have switched spots. Lopez getting through, but much cleaner start here as the drivers, I think, have a sense that this race is not going to be won in the first lap, but can certainly be lost.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you mentioned no incidents in the first half of the field. There was an incident in the back half of the field, unfortunately, and it was Josh Corwin and Skylar Vickroy. Both have already towed back to the pits. Rafael Cardenas has a meatball flag, as we're seeing the track limits already starting to rack up as we're going here. We have Navas has also got a meatball flag, so he's got damage from some incident. So I'm sure we'll have some replays to look at here very shortly.
Oh, yeah, another kerfuffle. I see Mikovits and Cardenas both lost a lot here, and it's hard to kind of follow who we're focused on. Oh, my goodness. And yeah, there's Cardenas is trying to stay out of trouble, trying to stay away from the apex, and trying to stay outside where he thinks it's going to be safe. And that doesn't even save him as he gets rear-ended here. And again, somebody shooting down the inside. Is that Vickroy?
That was Vickroy.
Wow,
it wasn't so much shooting down the inside as it was moving to the inside to avoid the stop that happened in turn one from the cars in front. And you just see he basically just had to lock it down and just nowhere for him to go, unfortunately, as all the traffic just backed up going through one. And yep, the aggressive did not pay off for him. He just pulls over and parks it, and that's probably going to be a race done for him today.
Wow, that really hurts. And pro tip, kids, if you're in traffic like this and all of a sudden you're passing cars like that are all pulling anchors, you might want to think about taking your foot out of the throttle. There may be a problem ahead. And Vickroy getting bitten there. There is Jose Navas, and look at that car crabbing, crabbing down the side of the road there. So Navas taking a tow as well. So massive carnage here at the beginning. And I was so proud of the front of the field for driving clean, but the mayhem still occurred at the back of the field, and a bunch of people lost a bunch of positions here, and that is really unfortunate. And meanwhile, up front, it's Case from Eggert from Poborji, and pretty tight racing throughout the top of the field. Look at all those yellow and orange intervals. They go all the way down to P12, with the exception of about 1.2 seconds Poborji to Eggert. But things looking a lot tighter here for a lot of these drivers anyway, although unfortunately not the entire field.
Yeah, as you can see, we're going to need another replay here of Hagan going down into turn one and just carried too much speed, turned in, and the rear says, no, I don't think so. And he's got back around without any contact. So that's good as we see Navas pulled over here. I think he's just going to pull over, and is he just running slow, or did he tow it back? No, he's running slow. Oh, no, it's not good. Ooh. Bolly just nowhere for him to go, but great save to not hit anything there and get the car back on track. Now we're back with Wang running in P5, trying to track down Jason Green.
Yeah, and this track is so tough. That little spin there in turn one, just the way it's designed, they're asking these cars to do an awful lot, going uphill, downhill, off camber, being under braking, going over rises. That turn one is absolutely demonic. You have to be so precise, and the difference between getting it right and getting it wrong can be a half a second to a second just on that one small portion of the track. So it really kind of forces you to take a risk in turn one every time, and it's one of the annoying / exciting features about Red Bull Ring, and I call it annoying because I'm one of those drivers. I don't think I have done that corner right once, and I have 1,000 laps out here. So very, very, very tough to gain expertise out here at this track.
Yeah, I usually do pretty well at turn one. Turn three gets me a little bit. Turn four, I think I'm with you there. I'm not sure I've ever gotten that corner right. just for whatever reason. Just seems like I can't get the brake point proper, and then trying to get the car rotated around and out of the corner without looping it. It's foreign to me. So we're still on board here with Lloyd Conway's up a position, up to P7, working his way through 9 and 10 here. And you see how deep you have to go into the apex of that corner to get the car to rotate around. Good run through there for Conway. This is up a spot and is looking to see if he can gain on De Silva just a little bit.
Yeah, and again, folks, look at that timing tower, the color coded there. The orange intervals are under half a second, yellow is under a second. So pretty good job of driving nose to tail and pretty similar, consistent paces throughout this field. And Charles, maybe we should trade track secrets here, and I'll go ahead and tell you my secret to turn 4, and that is you're overcooking the entry there if you're having a hard time there. It took me forever to figure that out because it looks like you can go a lot faster than you can, but the camber there, terrible, and you really have to go slow there. Slow it fast out, as they say. Oh, and there's a spinner. That was Cotcher, and he might have collected Wilkie behind him just as we're talking about that difficult off-camber turn 4. Cotcher spins it there right in front of Josh Wilkie, and there it is, and doink. Ooh. Yeah, he
get
might
away from that.
Gotten away with that. I saw I thought I saw a piece of bodywork bouncing down the side of the road, but looking at Wilkie's car, he might have gotten away with it. So Wilkie dodging a bullet there. But yeah, that turn 4, needless to say, tough stuff. You see professional drivers struggle with that. So it's a big ask right there.
Yeah, it really is. He dropped the left rear tire into the gravel, and that was enough to send the car around. As we're now back with Gaborgi running in third. You see the gap up there as Case is starting to eke out a little more time over Eggert. But you see the top 2 right in front of Gaborgi here as the gaps are now over a second between these. He's got Jason Green a half second back. So Green not out of this yet to get a podium here during this race, as we're starting to see some other battles starting to heat up. Wilkie's closing down Grunsky for P9, but he's got Oladipo and Snyder right behind him, so we might have a nice little 4-way battle here in short order.
We might have a battle, and I'll tell you, we are going to be hitting traffic much earlier than we normally do. The gap from P1 back to the last car on the first lap is 50 seconds, 50, and we're only doing 125s here. So we may have a couple cars that go down multiple laps, and we could see traffic playing a role in this one a lot sooner than we're accustomed to. And that's taking a look at Oladipo right there. He's in the middle of a big fight. He's got Grunsky with him. He's got Wilkie taking a peek down the inside of that turn 4. And playing a little bit of chicken. I'm sorry, that is not 4. That is turn 9. And Wilkie putting in a sweet move right there. You don't see a lot of moves there, but Wilkie lulling Oladipo to sleep right there and getting it done. But he's going to have to go defensive here into turn 1. But a sweet move there in 9 by Josh.
Yeah, it was a good move coming through 9. That's not really known as a passing corner, but did a good job getting a good inside run through the corner and able to get the move done around Oladipo as they're working their way down into 3. Oladipo now looking to the inside. I think that's probably not the move, and so Oladipo agrees with that. He's going to stay there, and so he's going to just track Wilkie for a little bit and see what happens as they're trying to still close down on Grunsky.
Yeah, train forming there with Grunsky sitting in P11. And he's got Wilkie less than a second behind, followed by Oladipo, Snyder, and Velasco. So nice battle here brewing for the last position there, last couple positions in the top 10. And here is Snyder. He's got Velasco right with him. And boy, we see these two are very well acquainted with each other, similar pace, similar performance, and we see these guys fighting week in and week out. They're well familiar with each other, and it may be to the point where they're getting a little tired of seeing the back of each other's car. And there's another move into turn 9, and my goodness, the passing farm is open there into turn 9 here all of a sudden. As Charles said, not typical to see a lot of moves there, but we're certainly seeing them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've had a little bit of issue Eggert's dropped down to P3, so obviously made a mistake somewhere on the track. Let's see if we can get Magic Mike to track that one down. But he's dropped down to P4. Paborgi and Green have both gotten by. And so now the gap is a more, as we get the replay here, going down into turn 4. And yeah, you see locking up and running wide through 4, bringing the gravel back onto the circuit. And so that's going to be 2 spots lost for Eggert as you see Paborgi run around. And now Paborgi looking to the outside of Green.
Yeah, that turn 4 is tough, and it took me forever to get my head around it, but you really have to go through there a lot slower than you want to. And pretty good train here forming right now. That is Paborgi from Green, from Eggert, from Wang, and all 3 of those cars separated by about 1.5 seconds as Case drives away. Case enjoying about a 5.5 second lead right now. So the fight right now is on for P2. And again, as I say, that's Paborgi, Green, Eggert, and Wang. De Silva hanging around in the background. Conway, Wilkie has moved his way up to P8. So Wilkie looking pretty good, putting in a good drive with 5 position gained here so far.
Yeah, having a good run. Has managed to get by Grunsky. He's now got his sight set up on Lloyd Conway in P7, but that's a 4.5 second gap. As we now have the Stephen Case-like gap between P1 and P2. This is what we're normally used to seeing. 5.5 seconds over Paborgi. Paborgi is not even worried about that right now because he has got some very fast drivers behind him that want to get around, and so he's got he's got both eyes in the mirror as we've got Oladipo coming down here into turn 1, just a little bit wide. Oh, right, left rear on the curb, kicks the car around, manages to get it stopped, but maybe some damage on the car from the curbs.
Yeah, I think Oladipo is shedding body panels there, and again, it's high risk, high reward, and this track forces you to thread the needle in so many places, and that is probably about the toughest, and it makes such a huge difference getting a good run through there down that fairly significant straight between turn 1 and turn 3. So you got to hit it pretty hard, but you have to be so precise, and we've already seen a couple of race-ending errors right there. So turn 1, so very tough here. Now we are about 13 minutes in to this one, Charles, and I'm going to say that this track is probably going to be pretty hard on these tires, and I'm thinking the rears in particular, coming out of some of these slow corners, powering up the hill out of turn 1 and out of turn 3. So we're getting close here to the tire witching hour, where some of these drivers are going to be divided in terms of how they have cared for their tires and how they haven't. And it looks like Wang falling off the back of that train now for P2. Now it's Paborgi from Green, from Eggert. Eggert has dropped Wang to the tune of about 1.5 seconds. So 3 cars here vying for the last 2 steps of the podium.
Yeah, I think you're right as far as the tires starting to go off this track. Just seems like because of the nature of the track, high-speed cornering, lots of lockups because you've got elevated braking points on a lot of the corners here, and just seems like it's going to put a little more damage on the tires than what we're used to dealing with, as we see Duval coming around turn 6 and not quite getting it, trying to ride up on the inside curb, and I think that may have kicked his car around to get some help and with from behind as well, possibly. I just missed the end of that replay. Very sorry about that. And we'll see Hagen again. You see the little locking up there to keep it from going into the barrier. As these cars, we got Eggert here now. This is coming out of turn 1 down toward the turn 3 as we're back to live with this 3-car battle for the final 2 steps on the podium.
Yeah, and Eggert definitely still in this for P2. He has a ton of pace out here. Case has completely gotten away, but Eggert has plenty of time here, 10 minutes remaining, and it would be easy to envision him making his way back up to P2. I'm not saying it will be easy for him to make it happen, but I could certainly imagine it happen. Oh my goodness. And there's Eggert again. Looks like he's dragging his inside rear down that turn 4 as he's trying to trail brake and rotate through there. And we've seen him do that a couple of times. And speaking of tire wear, you don't want to do that on every lap. These tires get overheated and they start behaving in unfamiliar and unreliable ways. And we'll drop back and take a look at the mid-pack there. That is Lebivi from Velasco from Varun Bali. They formed up a pretty good train, about half a second covering those 3 cars.
Yeah, Lebivi, good run. Obviously up 16 positions in this race. Obviously had the issue in the beginning of the heat race, and showing that he does know how to drive this track as long as he doesn't get ran over. So having a good run as he's moved up into the top 10, which is normally where we would see Daniel. He's a top 10 racer, so it's good to see that he's managed to work his way through the field. And I saw Eggert was the last time we were out on with him, coming through 3, and really had to just get a arm load opposite lock there to keep the rear in the proper position. But you mentioned the lockup in the rear. That means he's got his brake bias dialed way back to prevent those front lockups from occurring as he's getting hard on the brake down in these corners.
Yeah, that very definitely the case. And it also, moving the brake bias back takes strain off of the fronts, and you really need a crisp turn in to get a precise line through these tough high-speed corners like turn 10 and turn 1. So you're very right about that. Eggert might have calculated he'd rather fight a little bit of oversteer, fight a little bit of rear lockup, and keep his fronts performing the way he wants to thread those difficult needles here at Red Bull Ring. But back at this fight for P2, it's still Poborji from green from Eggert and about 6/10 covering all 3 of these cars. Haven't seen, and Poborji goes wide out of turn 10, and that is definitely a place where you can get bitten here at the Red Bull Ring. And let's see how he chooses to kill that slowdown. You can kind of do it strategically and not lose places. It looked like he might have checked up a little bit, gone slow through turn 1. And if he does the same thing here through turn 3, now Green's not going to let him get away with that. Maybe. And that is the beauty of the outside line there in turn 3. You could see the better drive that Poborji got up out of that corner on the outside line, and Poborji somehow survives a slowdown with 2 cars within a half a second behind him, and Poborji still hanging on to P2. A little taste of the kitty litter right there. Green all over him, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. They're still battling coming through 6. As you see Poborji move back in front of Green, they're going to get the run down through 6 and 7, and we'll see if Green's going to keep the pressure on. He's got to keep the pressure on here, and hopefully maybe he can force Poborji into another slowdown coming out of 10. But he's got to just really stay on the rear of the car, and is doing so right now. You see the gap under 0.2 of a second as they work their way through 9.
Yeah, and keep an eye on Eggert in the background. I saw him go way sideways, another big opposite lock moment in turn 6, and with 7 minutes remaining, you got to wonder if those rear tires are going to hang on. Forget being able to have a crack at Jason Green, who's in front of him. Can he keep the position that he has, or is that car going to slip out of his control and end up in the kitty litter or in a barrier? Eggert driving the wheels off that thing right now.
He really is, and maybe this is a time you might want to shift that brake bias forward just a little bit, just to try and keep try and save the rears for the last couple of laps of the race. So we'll see if he makes any adjustments to either the car, or we'll probably be able to tell it fairly quickly, or it's just his racing line in general, as he's still managed to keep within a half second of Green in front, as we see Poborji again run a little wide, not too bad, coming out of 4. As they work their way through 5 down into 6 and 7 again. You see now Eggert starting to look to the inside of Green, not close enough to make a move there, but he's going to hope he gets a good run out of the final quarter so he can get some draft down the front straight. As we see Green running wide coming out through 8. And so now Eggert's got a chance to make the move.
Yeah, Eggert's going to have a crack here down the inside of turn 9. And a little game of chicken here. They're still side by side going into turn 10. And Green takes it a little wide there, but no flag. So Green has hung on there. Really thought Eggert was going to be able to make something happen there, but it could be that his tires are too far gone. And I mentioned that earlier. If you don't take care of them early, they're not going to take care of you late when you need to get a move done. And Poborji is loving what he's seeing. And here's the rearview mirror as Green and Eggert fighting. That gap from Poborji back to Green has grown to about a second and a half. So Poborji feeling pretty good about hanging on to that P2. Eggert's going to try the inside of turn 3. And again, we see it lap after lap. That outside line gets a better drive off of turn 3 up the hill. And the inside passer gets driven away from time after time. I'm not sure if we've seen many successful moves right there, Charles.
No, I don't think we have. As we see another little walk up there, I believe that was to Silva. That's Conway. In the kitty litter, gets it recovered. Good job by Conway, but obviously lost a couple of seconds there. As we're back on board now with Justin Snyder, and we're coming down here into turn 3 and into that compression in the inside of turn 3. You see the car bounce and it loses the rear, but able to recover that. Back to Conway, back to live. We're back on board with Eggert, still sitting behind Green, and that gap has grown from Poborji to Green's up to 1.8. And we do have Oladipo now with a black flag, so he has hit his incident limit, so he's going to have to come in and serve a drive-through.
And frankly, I'm surprised only one driver has had that happen. Charles, I've had sessions out here where I was getting one incident per lap, every lap, and it didn't seem like there was anything I could do to stop it. So to me, it is a miracle that only one person has had to do a drive-through so far. But here is another train here: Velasco, Lopez, Mikovits from Grunsky, and Bali is leading that one. Actually, that is a battle for P10. And if you heard me chuckle a little bit after that spin in turn 3, and that was your favorite driver, don't hate me. I wasn't laughing at your driver. I was laughing at Mike Braun, who was making some cartoon sound effects in my ear that you can't hear over the broadcast. So my apologies. I think maybe that was Lebivy that turned it right there. But in any event, back to auto racing, and here is Velasco, and he's fighting Bali there. And we're going to jump back up to Eggert and Green. And what is going on up here? More of the same. A gap from Poborji to Green has gotten even bigger. It's up to 2 seconds, and Eggert is still right with Green. And here's some side-by-side action. That is Velasco and Bali there, and I love that those side-by-side fights into turn 6. And as I said, something about the design of this track just invites inside looks and side-by-side racing right there at high speed. I love the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're doing a good job. It'd be real easy from about turn 4 to turn 8 to just cut off the exit of the corners if you happen to be a car on the inside, and just really force a car wide. But everybody's really racing clean as we now have Grunsky in the pits and with the black flag beside him, which means that's our second of our drive-through penalties. So he's in to serve his, and that's going to drop him down the order further. Oladipo staying out there, maybe not realizing that he has the black flag. And if he doesn't serve it, it's a 40-second penalty added on at the end of the race.
Or a DQ. I think he's going to get it served in 3 laps, or he's going to get the hook. So fans of Oladipo, send him a text. He needs to get that penalty served, or he's going to go from P17 to DFL in it here before too much longer. But 1 minute remaining here, and I'm guessing that Case is going to take the white flag. There you go. Yep. There's Barney waving away, and if we stay here for about another 30 seconds, we'll see Poborji coming behind in P2. So Case has absolutely driven away here, and here come Poborji, Green, Eggert, and Wang to take the white. But Case is going to have this one by a mile, barring the unbelievable. He's going to pick up his 5th win in a row, as you see lap traffic getting out of the way of Green right here. And Green has stretched it out a little bit to Eggert behind. He's got it down to about 4/10 now. But I said traffic might play a role. Traffic is playing a role. And look at Eggert. He knows it's his last opportunity. What do you think he's going to try here, Charles?
I think he is going to try a lunge. Probably, if it was me, I would go through in 6. I'd try and get a good run out of 4. Try and get that side-by-side action working through 6 and 7, and see if I can make it stick on the way out through 8, 9, and 10.
Here they are, and it's about a 2/10 gap. Eggert not really able to close it down much, but Green has been going wide a little bit right here. Goes a little bit wide right there on that exit, but Eggert does as well, and the gap stays the same or maybe grows just a little bit. So looks like Green very likely to hang on to that P3, although it's always possible to get a slowdown right here. Ooh, pretty wide there, Jason. I don't know. No black flag, though, although there are black flags up and down the timing tower. All of a sudden, Lopez has one, Borden has one, and the penalties racking up here as the off tracks are racking up. And did Oladipo serve that drive-through? And I'm going to say
I hate to tell Lopez, but this is not going to fly. Unfortunately, both he and Snyder got black flags on the final lap. You cannot take the drive-through. It's automatically going to be a 40-second penalty. He'll cross the start-finish line in pit lane, and then they'll add 40 seconds onto it. That is the worst feeling in the world, to get to the last lap and then get stuck with a drive-through penalty that you can't do anything about.
Yeah, that is a bummer. That oh my gosh, that happened to me quite recently. Actually, I'm having a little bit of a negative flashback right now. But cars, we are almost finished. Here comes Dylan. A few more cars left. We got Dylan, Hagen, still out. Just Dylan and Hagen, actually. Here comes Tyler Hagen after a rough one. We saw him facing the wrong way a few times here, and he's going to be our last finisher on the lead lap. And my goodness, that flurry of black flag activity there on the last lap. And yeah, you're right, Charles. You can't serve a drive-through if your race ends while you're rolling down pit lane, which I think a couple of these drivers experience. So that'll be a brutal time penalty added on by the artificial so-called intelligence. But my goodness, no shortage of action, no shortage of drama here at the Red Bull Ring. Kind of what I was expecting. And hopefully our podium is not going to get creamed by anyone. There was a fast car coming through, but there they are, Case, Poborgi, and Green. And get out your cameras. There's a beautiful shot right there. And Case says, I got plenty of tires left. I drove away, won by 10 seconds, and I got enough left to roast him here in front of the fans on the pit straight. So Case will throw down a couple of donuts here, and let me take a peek outside. Nobody here yet, but we are expecting some visitors in the booth for a chat here after this very rough and tumble week 5.
Yeah, it was a race for some, a race to forget. Obviously, Stephen Case, Chris Eggert, great run in the first heat race. Unfortunate that he couldn't quite get the victory, but had a good run. Ended up with P4 in the feature. So about standard fare for him, I would say. He is very much a podium racer in this league. But it was nice to see Stephen Case being challenged just a little bit during the course of the night tonight. But yeah, I'm sure there's a few drivers that exited early that kind of wish that they never ever showed up at all. If that was going to be the result, not a lot of points on offer for those guys.
Yeah, right. And here are your final results after a rough and tumble, incident and penalty filled event here at the Red Bull Ring. It is Stephen Case from Danush Poborgi from Jason Green on the podium, followed by Christopher Eggert, Christopher Wang, Tyrone De Silva, Lloyd Conway, Joshua Wilkie. A pretty good drive out of him, moving up 5, and Daniel Lebivy plus 17. That's hardly mathematically possible. Lebivy definitely set some kind of record there. I've never seen anybody charging quite that hard before, and it's Braun, Bali will round out the top 10. Then it is Velasco, Mikovits, Van Wagner, Grunsky, and Dillon will take us to P15. And after that, who we got? Hagen, Oladipo, Lopez, Snyder, and Borden gets us to 20. Then Duvall, Navas, Cotcher, Cardenas, Corwin, and Viceroy. And I guess Corwin and Guyton showing plus 18 laps there. They must have both crashed out on the last lap. And wow, tough stuff there. And a really rough start. And some people had rough starts in the heat and in the feature, and you could tell that they just had enough of the Red Bull Ring, took the tow, and went to the fridge. But let's go ahead and start with Stephen Case. Stephen, welcome back to the podium. I hope you kept it warm for yourself. This is your 5th consecutive victory following a string of them from last season. So pretty interesting to not have you on pole. Eggert made you work for it a little bit, but once you got in the clear, you drove off. So we've been talking about the challenges of the Red Bull Ring. In my mind, it's a track that requires a lot of precision, which in turn would require a lot of practice. So tell us about your preparation for this one.
Yeah, it's a tough track. For me, I tend to practice like a little bit a week beforehand just to remind myself what the track's like. And then I do a couple officials. I have been lately. I did one today. It ended in disaster. I wrecked myself. So I was hoping that wasn't a premonition of things to come.
Yeah.
But,
and what,
yeah.
and so if somebody is, what do you think the keys are to master? Oh my gosh, we're right now while we're talking to you, we're showing a slow motion of the start with you, Eggert, and looks like maybe Green kind of all going wide and bouncing over that sausage curb on the exit of turn 1, almost disaster, but got through it. But if you were coaching somebody who is trying to familiarize themselves with the Red Bull Ring, what would you say the keys to consistency are around here?
Well, step 1, watch a lap guide. That's usually what I do if I'm unfamiliar with the track. And then if it's available, download a ghost of that same lap guide and, follow it. And also there's a good app out there called Bloops that allows you to download Garage 61 telemetry and overlay it right on top of your own telemetry so you can live real time see how your inputs differ from that comparison lap, and it helps a lot with technique improvement and just figuring out your brake zones and when to get on power and stuff.
Wow, interesting stuff. And I hope everybody was taking notes. You're hearing preparation tips from a 4K driver, and that is nothing to sneeze at. Well, great drive today, Stephen. Another victory for you, and you're kind of walking away with the point. So congratulations again. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, I just thank my wife. She lets me get on here on these Wednesday nights and race around. So, she's been patient with me. So I want to thank her.
All right. And thanks to Steven's wife for letting him come out and play and show us how it's done in these F3 cars. Well, thanks, Steven, for stopping by and sharing your insights. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. Take care.
All right, very good. That was your winner, Stephen Case. And Charles, looks like we got Danush Poborji, and maybe you can check in with him.
Let's bring in Danush. Congratulations on the P2 today. Had a pretty good qualifying, but then had a P4 finish in the heat race. Set you up really well for a good run in the feature. We talk about this track. It just doesn't look difficult, but it is difficult. So what were your main struggles during the course of the racing tonight?
I would say just being super clean and trying to break the draft, especially with Green behind me, and just literally being mistake free. That was in hitting really the biggest these brake markers here. So, and everybody's so close.
Well, there you go. So yeah, it was a very close race up at the front of the grid. Well, with the exception of Stephen Case, who does what Stephen Case does and just kind of gets in front and checks out.
Yep.
So
Yep. Pretty normal.
yeah, pretty normal. So it's one of those races that we did have some guys. So you should have gotten a pretty good result and probably end up moving up a little bit in the overall standings for the championship.
Yeah, the first season not so great compared to my F4 because it took me a little while to get on top of the brakes of this car. I think I mentioned that in the past, but the F4 to me has more feel. But the F3, I think this season I got a handle on it, so hopefully you just keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we will go to another F1 track, the Hungaro Ring, which has its own set of challenges. Yeah. So have you ever run laps there, and what are your thoughts about that track?
I have, in primarily F4 and then a little bit in the F3. I think we just did practice like randomly. I love that track. It's like a big go-kart track. So again, if a lot of the very different track to Red Bull Ring, but very similar principles, just being very, perfect with the braking and, not over going into the corners.
Absolutely. And Danush, congratulations again.
Thanks.
On your P2. We'll let you give any thanks or a few shout outs and let you go celebrate.
Yeah. Thank you to you guys, to SRG, of course, and Jason. And of course, shout out to Capizano watching from the OR room, and then Dr. Fowler and Miller. Thanks.
Paging Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller.
They're my bosses at work, so that's why.
Hey, Dr. Miller, he got a P2 tonight. So there you go.
Yeah. Should write me a good eval. So.
That's it. All right. Danush, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
All right. That was Danush Paborji, and it's late at night, but there was a paradox, a joke right on the tip of my tongue, but I could not quite spit it out. But we'll go ahead and bring in Chris Wang, who finished P5 from a P5 qualifier. Chris, crazy race out there. I'm not sure if you were aware of all the mayhem that was happening all around you, but as usual, it kind of seems like the Chris Wang way to keep it chill, keep it frosty, avoid incidents, and keep your head down and get a good result, which you have done out here today. So how did this race go from your perspective?
Hey guys, yeah, I wasn't a part of much of the chaos. I did hear, incident behind, and I knew coming into this track, Red Bull Ring, I was a little scared of it, to be honest. Even outside of the chaos, just like the opportunity to 1x everywhere, especially if you're pushing a little bit. But once I got into the race itself, the heat was a lot of fun for me, and the feature was still a lot of fun. It might have felt like or seemed like a track day type race, maybe to an outside observer, but to me, I was 100% focused the entire time, because every time I lost focus for a half second, I saw Tyrone catching up a little bit. I was like, oh no, I can't have that happen.
Yeah, definitely had De Silva lurking behind you for the entire race. And actually, he qualified P6 and finished P6. So the two of you dodged a few flaming barrels out there. Charles asked Danush a moment ago about the upcoming schedule. We're going from one very kind of difficult to get grips on Red Bull Ring to the Hungaro Ring. So have you had a chance to put any laps down in Hungary, and what do you think about your chances on that track?
Never run the Hungaro Ring in a long time. I think I ran it once in the F4. I don't remember if that was when we were with you guys yet, but I remember liking it. We'll see how it goes in the F3. I definitely qualified, I think, a little bit above my pace today, but I think I worked out, except for I gotta do a preemptive sorry shout out to Skylar and overslowing a little bit and having that contact in the very beginning of the race.
Okay, so it looked like Vickery was having to go avoidant there off the start, and you're saying that it was you that he was avoiding.
I'm thinking
right?
about
Do I have that right?
Last corner of the first lap when he lost his front wing.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I think we did see that as well. Well, Chris, thanks so much. Very gracious apology there, and appreciate you coming by and sharing your thoughts with us. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, as always, shouting out you guys. I love watching this back. I love watching the F4 races on Tuesday. Also want to shout out my teammate Alex. I think he might have had a little bit of trouble, but sure, he still I think he finished 11th in the feature, which is still great, along with Jason and Tyler, the SRG crew, and kind of all the competitors out there today. I had a lot of fun today. Also want to shout out some friends. I think they're watching while they're testing their new 3D printer, so gonna check in with them after this. But yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, Velasco finished in 11th, and that was a gain of 8 for him. So he was definitely paddling hard out there to catch up with you. Okay, Chris, well, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you next week in Hungary.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, and last but not least, Charles, let's go ahead and bring in our most recent F3 rookie, Joshua Wilkie, and you can ask him about his drive today.
Yeah, Josh, welcome in. I think you've been I think you were in a race early in the season, but obviously other duties have prevented you from getting back until tonight. But you had a good run. You had a kind of a rough start in the heat race, but managed to recover nicely and get a P8 in the feature.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Charles. Yeah, I had a kind of unfortunate spin there. Kind of getting to grips with this car. I was just talking with the guys. My first kind of assessment of the car, sort of here. I haven't really raced it in anger before, but a little bit numb in the front end, but I started to kind of get it by the end of or by the middle of the second feature there. And yeah, it's a really fun car, good racing with everybody out there, and always good to get a decent finish around Red Bull Ring. This place just seems to breed carnage into every corner, especially on the first couple laps. It's really just about trying to stay clean and stay out of people's way, and that's what I did. I went out there. Somebody, I've learned around here, if somebody really wants it up the inside around here, you pretty much just give it to them or you get in an accident. So that's kind of what I do. And you just draft them and see what can kind of come of it. And I got held up a bit, but it was a really good race, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've nailed the synopsis of Red Bull Ring. Is the first two laps are deadly. The first two laps are deadly, and then the rest of the race is pretty much holding your breath and hoping that you can finish it with a good result. And that's it in a nutshell. So we've got Hungaroring coming up next week. Are you going to be around for that race? And if so, what are your thoughts about the Hungaroring?
Yeah, I'm super going to try to make that one. I love that place. I've raced there a bunch in the Weekend Warrior Series there in the SRF and in the FF. I've always, unless something happens in the race, I've always done very well. It's a technical track, one that I used to not be able to race very well, but I've spent so much time on it now that I really like it. Unfortunately, I may not be able to make that race. I am producing the F-Rock series just before that. So if it ends in time and I can jump in, then I'll definitely be there. But if not, then I may have to miss that one too. But, either way, this F3 series SRG here is a blast with these guys. I was just talking with a couple of them in the interview area too, meeting some new friends there. And some really cool guys. And I'm looking forward to hopefully making more of these in the next little bit. And Hungaroring's going to be a challenge for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, well, thank you for stopping by. Congrats on the top 10 after coming back from a few-week layoff. And we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs that you may want to before we let you go for tonight.
Yeah, well, first off, giant thanks to you, Charles, JR, Mike in the production booth there doing an amazing job. I love watching these back as much as everybody else. It really brings it home for everybody, I think, when you're sitting at the brick and mortar there at SRG and you're able to watch this back later, and it just kind of brings life to the whole thing, a whole nother element to it. And we love being a part of that. So it's very cool. So thank them. Thank you guys. And Jason Cotcher and everything else there. He spun in front of me, almost hit him. I don't know if you guys got that. I got on the clappers. It was, it was quite being able to miss him, but that's too bad because I was really hoping to pass him on merit, but maybe next time. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, Josh. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. And I think that is our last interview for tonight there, JR.
Yeah, that is going to wrap it up. And if you like what you saw here, folks, go ahead and give us a thumbs up on our YouTube broadcast. And don't forget to subscribe to Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the upcoming action. And we have got action. On Saturday, the Weekend Warriors Formula Vs will visit a rainy Oschersleben. Sunday, our Weekend Warriors doubleheader will feature Formula Fords at Road Atlanta, Spec Racer Fords at the Glen. And on Tuesday, our Formula 4 warriors will cross the border from Tejas to Mexico City, and the brand new Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And 1 week from tonight, SRG F3 will be back out here at the Hungaroring. And if you enjoyed the battle here at the Red Bull Ring, we're going to be showing you a very similar contest in Hungary next week, and be sure and tune in for that. So I am JR Gregory, and on behalf of myself, my partner, Charles Boshell, our producer, Mike Braun, and everyone here at SMB, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day wherever you are, and hang on, baby. Friday's coming.